I'm going to name a number of different strategies used for attracting attention in class. I'd like to ask you whether you're using any of these.
Okay, yeah.
First of all, demonstrations.
Demonstrations, not at present,
No? Okay.
but I have in the past at previous schools.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I used to teach Japanese as well,
Yeah.
and demonstrations came in handy with things like teaching students how to make sushi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
using
great.
the
Yeah,
ingredients and things like that. Yeah.
That's excellent.
I also, at my previous school, used to do a lot of team teaching with other teachers, and we'd often use role play
Okay, yeah.
to demonstrate particular cultural situations
Yeah.
or ways of behaving
Okay.
or language that we wanted the students to
That would
use.
certainly keep them focused, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
How about the use of charts?
Charts?
Yeah.
Not so much in my subject.
Yeah.
But I know I work with colleagues who teach subjects such as business studies, economics,
Yeah.
information processes and technology, things like that. And I know that they use
Okay.
charts.
Pictures?
Pictures, yes, I use pictures sometimes.
Yeah. Can you give an example?
Particularly in worksheets or handouts,
Yeah.
I try to make handouts as interesting as possible.
Okay.
And I find that pictures, relevant pictures, make them more interesting for students.
Okay. Yeah. How about problems?
Problems, what do you mean by problems?
Problems. Well, where you would give them, like for instance, a question about something.
Yeah.
A difficult question, they have to work out and solve a problem.
Yes. Not really in my subject area, but I can see how it would be very useful for, again, some of the subjects that my colleagues teach, such as economics.
Yeah. More the
studies.
science or math-based sort of subject.
Yeah. I have had a hand in teaching legal studies at one stage, and I did find using problems was effective there. Things like when studying customs and laws in other countries. What would you do if you went to this particular country, and how would you?
Theoretical problems.
Yeah.
Okay. What of thought-provoking questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
But
Do you find them useful? Do they? I mean, they're obviously SL students. Is it difficult to present a thought-provoking question that they'll understand?
Sometimes, yes. Yeah. But I think too, often ESL students are, it's underestimated.
Yeah.
So sometimes their intelligence can be underestimated.
Yeah,
because
the language is not there.
Yeah. But yeah, I find using thought-provoking questions. I find it more effective to use questions rather than giving them the information first.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking in particular of a topic that I'm teaching at the moment, and it's called Overcoming Adversity.
Yeah.
So, for example, I ask students to come up with different kinds of adversities that people face in their lives, and different strategies that they use to overcome them.
Okay, that's certainly thought-provoking.
Yeah, and in that way, first individually, and then we built it out as small groups and a whole class.
Yeah.
And in that way, not only were they thinking of the different kinds of adversities that people face in their lives, compared to themselves as well, they were also picking up new vocabulary along the way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. What about emphasis?
Emphasis? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like sort
Very
of a common
important.
one,
Yeah, very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Student names? You mentioned that before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very effective. I met one or two teachers so far in my practice where often because they're part-time or casual, they don't know all their students' names, and they have even commented to me how difficult that can be. So I think,
obviously, although it is good for a teacher to remember their students' names.
Yes.
Yes. Just keep focus.
Yes.
Which is the most effective? I mean, you seem to think that emphasis is pretty important.
Yeah. I think it's difficult to say which is most effective.
Do you think there might just simply be combining a number of them together?
Yeah.
Right. You can't always use the same strategy every time, right?
That's right, yeah. But I guess obviously emphasis, you would always use that for important things that you want the students to remember.
It depends on what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Okay. In a high school class, an economics teacher models metacognitive strategies by making statements such as, whenever I read something new, I always ask myself, how does this relate to what I've been studying? For example, how is the liberal economic agenda different from the conservative agenda? This is what he would say to himself. Okay. Do you find yourself modelling metacognitive strategies in this or a similar way?
Yes.
Yeah.
In my teaching, yes. Yeah.
This kind of modelling, can you give an example of this?
Yeah. The example that I can think of, which hopefully is relevant, but is actually a cross-curricular thing.
Yeah.
My colleagues that I teach with, I teach ESL, but they teach subjects, as I mentioned, such as legal studies and economics, business studies, things like that. And I'm finding that there are some parallels between some of the subjects.
Okay.
And whenever possible, we try to refer students to those concepts that they've learnt in other subjects.
Okay.
For example, in ESL, in the Year 11 ESL class I'm teaching this year, we've been studying the film Australia and some of the issues that are represented in that film, such as the stolen generation. And in legal studies later on in the year, the same students study Indigenous law and they come across some of the similar issues, such as the stolen generation. So I know that the teacher teaching legal studies tries to refer them back to what they...
By modelling.
Yeah.
You might refer back to...
Yes. And